And we begin with the top story of the day, which is a massive counter-terror operations by the Indian Army. It was launched on terror camps located inside Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. Confirming the strikes, India's Army Chief General Bipin Rawat has said that 6 to 10 Pakistani soldiers and a similar number of terrorists have been killed. He added that reports of terrorist casualties are still coming in and that the number would be far more.
Well, there are camps across at Atmukam, there's a camp at Kundal Shahi, there's a camp at Jura. We also have information of camp in the Lipa Valley. So these are camps which we had been able to identify, and these are the camps we've targeted. Now, along with these camps, obviously the people who are supporting them are the Pakistani army posts who also bear the brunt of our retaliatory action. And as of now, the information that we have is that 6 to 10 Pakistani soldiers have been killed. Similar number of terrorists have also been decimated at these camps. As I told you, these camps have been destroyed. We are trying to get more information. Unconfirmed reports also tell us that the casualties to the terrorists are far more than the information that we have received.
The Indian Army had used artillery guns to target terror launch pads in Pakistan Occupied Kashmir's Neelam Valley that has been harboring terrorists affiliated with outfits like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Hizbul Mujahideen. The Indian Army targeted the terror camps in Jura, Atmukam and Kundal Shahi, among others in Pakistan Occupied Kashmir, after credible inputs that a large number of terrorists were operating there. Now, this was in retaliation to the cross-border firing by Pakistan in Tangdar this morning, in which 2 Indian soldiers were martyred and a civilian was killed as well. Meanwhile, the Pakistani army claimed that at least 9 Indian soldiers were killed and that several were injured in the fierce exchange of fire across the line of control. But Indian army sources have rejected that claim. While the Indian Army retaliated to the unprovoked ceasefire violation by launching attacks on terror camps situated inside Pakistan Occupied Kashmir, what is important is how it can be seen as, which is India's strong message to Pakistan, perhaps reiterating that the country will not lie down in the face of such unprovoked attacks. Pakistan has violated the ceasefire over 2,000 times along the line of control until September this year, killing scores of civilians and Indian Army personnel. India's Army Chief General Bipin Rawat said that India's latest retaliation comes as a strong response to Pakistan, a country that is known to harbour, groom and train terrorists to conduct operations against civilians and the Indian Army along the line of control and beyond.
There have been casualties, there has been damage, but obviously the Pakistan army does not want to highlight this damage or project this damage, because they will, the world will know that there is no action being taken to curtail the acts of terrorism from across the borders. So they are trying to keep it under the wraps.
The armed forces' last hit on terror launch pads in February after the Jaish-e-Mohammed terror strike in Pulwama. On that occasion, the Indian Air Force had targeted a Jaish-e-Mohammed terror training camp in Pakistan's Balakot. Earlier, in September 2016, the Indian Army carried out surgical strikes on terror launch pads across the line of control. Now, while the goal of all these counter-attacks by India in response to Pakistan's terrorists has been deterrence by punishment, Islamabad's heightened involvement in such attacks points to the Imran Khan government running out of diplomatic options and resorting to using terror as state policy. Mohammad Sadiq, the innocent civilian who lost his life during the unprovoked ceasefire violation by Pakistan, is survived by his wife, 4 daughters and a son. Mohammad Sadiq's nephew recalls when the heavy shelling by Pakistan took place the previous night and how the gas cylinder at their place exploded, killing his uncle Sadiq.
11:30 बजे का टाइम था। हम सब घर में सोए हुए थे। अचानक सर गोलाबारी हुआ तो इधर सर मकान में लगा अचानक गोला, तो सर गैस सिलेंडर फट गया। उसकी वजह से ये पूरा मकान का नुकसान हो गया। और मेरा एक अंकल था मोहम्मद सदीक सन ऑफ आज, जो सर उसकी डेथ हो गई। उसकी बच्ची की सर 29 तारीख को सर उसकी शादी है। कल सर उस गाँव वालों ने कल उसकी बच्ची की लकड़ी काटी। उसके बाप को बहुत खुशी थी, मेरी बेटी की शादी है, मगर उसका आज बाप ही चला गया।
That's the story of what happened due to Pakistan's ceasefire violation earlier in the day. Bear in mind, according to last count, Pakistan has committed 2050 ceasefire violations until the month of September this year. And India's response today needs analysis, because it's the first time that India used artillery in its response to a ceasefire violation by Pakistan. It's a strong signal that India will not take it lying down if Pakistan continues to violate ceasefire along the line of control. Indian Army, in retaliation, launched an incisive operation in Neelam Valley in Pakistan Occupied Kashmir, visuals of which are on your screens, in which 6 to 10 Pakistani soldiers were killed and an equal number of terrorists have also been neutralized, according to India's Army Chief General Bipin Rawat. But the Indian Army has maintained that the number of terrorists who have been killed in this operation of the Indian Army will increase further. Bear in mind, it was in February this year that the Indian Air Force launched an attack on a terror training camp in Pakistan, which is deep inside Pakistan territory in Balakot. And now in October, the Indian Army has conducted a huge counter-terror operation on terror camps located inside Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. As I've been telling you, the Indian Army had used artillery guns to target about 4 terror launch pads. We have Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnan, one of India's most decorated military officers. He has served in Siachen, South Kashmir and other regions as well. Lieutenant General, retired and now defense expert, joining us live for more on this big story that we're tracking tonight here on Wion World is One. Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnan, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. India has used artillery fire this time around. That's a big statement of intent.
Absolutely. It is not uncommon to see the use of artillery on the line of control. Till 2003 November, this was a very common phenomenon. After 2011, when you had ceasefire violations, this normally has been restricted to small arms fire, maximum to some automatics, and maybe escalating up to mortar level of mortars, 81mm mortars. Only in the recent 1 year, 1.5 to 2 years, we have found sporadic exchanges of artillery fire once in a while. This is a part of the escalatory matrix, a part of the escalation which takes place on the line of control. What the Army Chief has very clearly admitted and stated is that the Indian Army has used artillery to target 3 to 4 terrorist camps in the Neelam Valley area and in the Lipa Valley area. And in the course of that have also targeted a couple of Pakistani gun positions, artillery gun positions. I just want to clarify to your viewers that it is very usual that when you carry out this kind of activity with artillery, then it is usual to target your enemy's artillery so that he cannot make use of his artillery guns at will. The aim is to destroy his ammunition, destroy his guns, or displace his guns from the position at which he is deployed.
Right, and Pakistan has crossed over 2,000 ceasefire violations until September this year, and it is clear that as far as diplomacy is concerned, India has kept it extremely tight with Pakistan, leaving it with very little options. And now militarily too, it is India telling Pakistan that life cannot go on the way it is right now with the kind of number of ceasefire violations and the casualties both in terms of Indian Army personnel and civilians.
See, this is a larger thing which is happening at the moment. Let me try and explain to you that this perspective is not just the normal LOC ceasefire violations. We are coming into winter. We are at the third week of October. By end of October, early November, you may probably have a snowfalls anytime in Kashmir Valley and the higher reaches. If you have heavy snow at the early part of the year, the passes will close and infiltration will not be easy after that. Pakistan is on a level of desperation. They want to push in maximum terrorists before the winter comes, before the passes close. They have made one serious attempt in Gurez, where they have been able to infiltrate a couple of terrorists which are still battling the Indian Army in some of the heights around Ganderbal at the moment. But the serious part is this area around Atmukam, Jura, Kundal Shahi, Lipa. This is the general area of the Neelam Valley. This is the area from where, if they successfully infiltrate, then they can reach directly through Tangdhar and the vicinity of Tangdhar, they can reach directly to Sopore, Baramulla, and even before that to Handwara. Now, this is an area which in the last 1.5 to 2 years has not been very active. And the whole intention of Pakistan is to activate North Kashmir. You have noticed that South Kashmir is very active, North Kashmir is not so active. The intention at this time is a level of desperation is to try and push in maximum terrorists. And therefore, they are using the cover of artillery fire. What the Indian Army has done is that it has countered this entire thing with the use of counter bombardment against the Pakistani artillery and also targeted the terrorist bases, the camps or the launch pads in these 4 or 5 locations in the Neelam Valley. For your viewers, I just want to explain one last thing. This area of the Neelam Valley is a place where the Indian Army is in total domination. There's a height difference of almost 3,000 to 4,000 feet here between the heights which we occupy and the heights which the Pakistan Army occupies. And therefore, actually, it is suicidal on the part of Pakistan Army to try and do something here except to try and push in terrorists.
Right, and that is clear because at this stage we're looking at Kashmir returning to complete normalcy after the abrogation of Article 370, and it is and all eyes are on Pakistan. And with every single ceasefire violation, every single piece of evidence of greater Pakistani government involvement, it is clear that the Pakistani government has failed at the international forums when it comes to garnering support for its so-called quote-unquote Kashmir cause, and now it is resorting to what it's best known for, and for that the Indian security forces are telling them loud and clear that they are upping the ante.
You're absolutely right. When everything else fails and when the attempts to try and up the ante in the hinterland fails, and you're seeing that at the moment after 2 months, after the decision of 5th of August, not much of turbulence has been witnessed. You are finding some sporadic terrorist actions which have taken place, the killing of a truck driver, the burning of a truck, of a contractor and things like that. These are sporadic incidents which have taken place. No mass-scale turbulence has taken place in the valley. This is frustrating to Pakistan. And therefore, the only place which Pakistan finds where it can up the ante is to try and target the line of control, where the message goes out to the world that see the possibility of this escalating into something much more serious exists. And that is the reason why they always also, alongside the infiltration, choose to up the ante at the line of control.
Right. I also want to ask you one thing. We're talking about, India launching airstrikes in February this year in Balakot, and now this is October, and it's a huge anti-terror operation that India has conducted. So are you seeing a quantitative shift in the way India approaches Pakistan militarily?
Well, there's one thing which is very clear, that a much more free hand has been given to the Indian Army and the Indian Armed Forces overall to look at the whole escalatory ladder. This kind of action which the Indian Army has done just now may not have been done so easily in the past. There is no pattern to it in the last 10 years, definitely. In the 90s, yes, there was much more. In the early part of the millennium, there was a lot of action which used to take place on the line of control in this manner. But this particular thing, the decision taken and the Army Chief coming transparently on board to tell the media, tell the world that yes, we have undertaken this kind of an initiative is a very good thing. It's a very bold initiative. It is the messaging which is very important, which is going out to Pakistan, that see, you've got a different India and you've got a different Indian military. We have the capability, we have the means, we have the initiative, and if you so decide to interfere in our affairs, then we have the means to escalate and hit you back very hard. It happened on the 27th of February in this year, and it may happen in the future if Pakistan decides to up the ante through another major act anywhere in the Kashmir or the Jammu and Kashmir region.
Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain, defense expert, joining us on this broadcast here on Wion World is One to put that big story into perspective. Thank you so much for being with us.